Hello, everyone, and thanks for listening today. This is the RX Daily Dose. Today's episode is being recorded on Friday, January 10th, and I'm your host, Ian Pronagoni. We update this podcast every week for healthcare providers, medical professionals, and anyone who has an interest in drug updates. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on all of your favorite podcast platforms and social media, including iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and Instagram. All links can be found in the show notes below. We only have a few updates from this week, but there is some other news from the FDA that I wanted to share with you, so let's get right into it. On January 6th, the FDA approved the use of the faster-acting insulin aspart, going by brand name Fiasp, for pediatric patients with diabetes. Fiasp, which is commonly referred to as the faster aspart, is a newer formulation of insulin aspart recombinant, which goes by brand name Novolog, both made by Novo Nordisk, except the Fiasp contains niacinamide, which is added to increase absorption speed. It was first approved by the FDA in September of 2017 for use by adults, and more recently in October of 2019 for use in insulin pumps. Fiasp can be administered via multiple daily injections and insulin pumps, and is approved for intravenous infusion under supervision by healthcare professionals. In contrast to other rapid-acting insulins that are recommended to be taken prior to a meal, Fiasp is indicated for use at the beginning of a meal or within 20 minutes after starting a meal. The approval is based on data from the 26-week Onset 7 trial. The study randomly assigned children aged 1 through 18 years to receive either mealtime Fiasp, insulin aspart, or post-meal open-label Fiasp. Mealtime and post-meal Fiasp were non-inferior to insulin aspart in the primary endpoint, which was change in hemoglobin A1C level from baseline, with a statistically significant improvement for mealtime Fiasp. Postprandial glucose levels were also lower with Fiasp. Hypoglycemia rates did not differ among the groups. Fiasp is available in multiple ways, including 10 ml vials, 3 ml FlexTouch pens, and 3 ml pen-filled cartridges for use in a pen-filled cartridge delivery device. The treatment can be administered through subcutaneous injection, continuous subcutaneous infusion, or intravenous infusion. On January 8th, the FDA also approved pembrolizumab, going by brand name Keytruda, for the treatment of patients with Bacillus Calmette-Guerin, that's BCG, unresponsive, high-risk, non-muscle invasive bladder cancer, with carcinoma in situ, with or without papillary tumors, who are ineligible for or have elected not to undergo a cystectomy. Efficacy was investigated in the Keynote-57 study. Patients received Keytruda 200 milligrams every 3 weeks until unacceptable toxicity, persistent or recurrent high-risk NMIBC or progressive disease, or up to 24 months of therapy without disease progression. The major outcome measures were complete response and duration of response. The complete response rate in the 96 patients with high-risk BCG unresponsive NMIBC with CIS was 41%, and median response duration was 16.2 months. 46% of responding patients experienced a complete response lasting at least 12 months. The most common adverse reactions in patients who received Keytruda in the Keynote-57 study were fatigue, diarrhea, rash, constipation, cough, urinary tract infection, peripheral edema, hypothyroidism, and nasopharyngitis. The recommended Keytruda dose is 200 milligrams every 3 weeks. Keytruda was granted priority review by the FDA for this designation. And also 2 articles this week I read which were of interest. An article from Regulatory Focus on January 8th states the FDA has plans to withdraw the approval of 249 abbreviated new drug applications, also known as ANDAs. Those are for generic products, after their manufacturers repeatedly failed to submit annual reports for their products to the FDA. The FDA says the manufacturers will have the opportunity to request a hearing to appeal the decision by filing a written request and providing the agency with a rationale for why the ANDA should not be withdrawn. Generic drug makers are required to submit annual reports for approved ANDAs under Title 21 Code of Federal Regulations, which governs the FDA. Some of the companies impacted include major drug makers and their subsidiaries, including Pfizer, Novartis' Sandoz, and Fresenius USA, although the vast majority of the companies are smaller manufacturers. In total, FDA is proposing to withdraw 249 products from 89 companies, with 4 companies facing withdrawal of 10 or more ANDAs. And finally this week, new legislation was introduced into the House of Representatives that would extend Medicare coverage for immunosuppressive drugs for kidney transplant. The Comprehensive Immunosuppressive Drug Coverage for Kidney Transplant Patients Act of 2019, that's HR5534, was introduced in the U.S. Senate by Senators Bill Cassidy of Louisiana and Dick Durbin of Illinois, and in the House of Representatives by Representative Ron Kind of Wisconsin and Michael Burgess of Texas. Chronic kidney disease is the 9th leading cause of death in the United States, claiming more lives than breast cancer or prostate cancer. More than 37 million Americans are living with chronic kidney disease today. Individuals with irreversible kidney failure, known as end-stage renal disease, have only 2 options to survive: undergo regular and frequent dialysis, or be fortunate enough to receive a kidney transplant. Since 1973, Medicare has covered the care for individuals with irreversible kidney failure, or end-stage renal disease. Dialysis does mechanically what the kidney does naturally. It removes waste products and excessive fluid from the body. Most people undergo dialysis at a hospital or dialysis center, usually 3 times a week for about 4 hours each time. Medicare spends $86,300 a year per patient on dialysis, and there is no time limit on the coverage. Kidney transplantation, on the other hand, can dramatically improve the recipient's quality of life. But not everyone who needs a donated organ receives one. There are currently more than 103,000 individuals on the kidney transplant waiting list, while just 23,000 kidney transplants were performed in 2019. The upfront cost of a kidney transplant is about $110,000. Afterward, the coverage of immunotherapy under Medicare Part B is approximately $2,300 per year. The savings to the government of providing immunosuppressive medications are clear versus dialysis. Transplant patients are required to take immunosuppressive medications for the life of their transplanted organ to prevent rejection. Currently, Medicare covers these medications for just 36 months after the transplant, and many recipients are unable to afford their medication after the 36-month limit. This often leads to the unnecessary failure of the transplanted kidney, which can result in another transplant or dialysis. In May of 2019, the Department of Health and Human Services conducted an analysis that indicated potentially significant cost savings from extending immunosuppressive coverage for kidney transplant patients by averting future dialysis and retransplantation. The Centers for Medicare and Medicare's Office of the Actuary concluded that extending coverage could save Medicare up to $300 million over 10 years. My opinion on this: hopefully we see this fast-tracked through our legislative process, but we all know what the process is currently like, so I'm not sure if we're going to see anything for 2021 or even maybe 2022. We'll have to wait and see. And that's all I have for this week. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I'll include all links and resources in the show notes below, so please go back and check those out too. Please connect with me on any of your social media platforms and give me feedback on what you listened to today. I'd love to know what you thought about the episode. And as always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. And thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Music by Joseph